You're listening to CFRN, the Christian Financial Radio Network.
Good afternoon, traders, and welcome back to the CFRN Emini Futures Cast. This is the daily broadcast of Indeterminate Length, where we discuss all things Emini, along with some really big ideas on the finer points of trading gold, bonds, crude, sugar, the euro. Joining us today, Mr. Michael Borg. From our trading desk in Chicago, Mr. Burton Schlichter. Now, to get things started, let's go to our host and founder in Studio A, overlooking South Mountain, America's largest city park. Here's Dwayne.
Good afternoon, welcome back. Today is Wednesday, 29th day of June, 2022. Thanks so much for joining us. Whoever you are, wherever you are, we're just glad to have you right here, right now. We do 2 live broadcasts each and every day. The first live broadcast is for 2 hours, 9:30 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. Eastern. That broadcast is reserved for members only and those who are taking their 1-week free trial. Later in the show, Michael will show you exactly how you can take the free trial. Once the live training room ends at 11:30 a.m., we take a 30-minute break, and then we come back at 12 noon Eastern for this broadcast, which is open to the public. Anybody, everybody, anywhere, everywhere. So we're glad to have you join us. Now there's 2 ways to join this afternoon broadcast. One better than the other. The best way, you could go to our homepage at cfrn.net. On the right hand side of the page, click the big microphone, follow the instructions. You'll be registered in about 30 seconds, and that will give you one-click access to the show each and every day. Also, if you go to eminitrainingschool.com, there's a link there that you can click to do that same 30-second registration. And then going forward, every trading day, right before this show starts, you'll get an email. In the email, there's a link. Once you're ready to join the show, click the link in the email, and it will automatically log you right in. Now, the other way to join the show, the afternoon broadcast, is by pointing any internet-connected browser to youtube.com/CFRN. Easy to remember, youtube.com/CFRN. Not only do we broadcast live each and every day, we also archive every daily live broadcast. Currently, there's over 2,000 daily live broadcast archived for your educational and viewing pleasure. So with that out of the way, we'll open with a word of prayer. Today we're going to talk about the unknown. Do you know what's going to happen tomorrow? Well, the short answer is no. None of us do. Now, we may have plans. We're going to wake up, we're going to pray, we're going to meditate, we're going to fix breakfast, we're going to get the kids off to school, we're going to get dressed, we're going to shave. By popular request, I actually trimmed the old beard, so it looks a little less like Santa Claus. So we have plans for tomorrow, but it's unknown what tomorrow will bring. Our scripture is Matthew 14:13 through 16. When Jesus heard what had happened, he withdrew by boat privately to a solitary place. Hearing of this, the crowds followed him on foot from town to town. When Jesus landed and saw a large crowd, he had compassion on them and healed their sick. As evening approached, the disciples came to him and said, "This is a remote place, and it's getting late. Send the crowds away so we can go to the villages and buy some food." Jesus replied, "They do not need to go away. You give them something to eat." Now, the difference between us and Jesus is Jesus did know what would happen next with great certainty. Now, most of us who grew up going to church, we're familiar with the classic Sunday school story of Jesus feeding the 5,000 with just 5 loaves of bread and 2 fish. When we think about this story, we often emphasize the incredible miracle that Jesus performed to provide sustenance to the crowd that was following him. But there are also important details to be found in the moments leading up to Jesus' provision. So right before he's about to do this incredible miracle, Jesus learns that his close friend and family member, John the Baptist, had died. And not only had he died, he had been beheaded while in prison. Imagine the emotional turmoil this would cause you and I. Upon learning this, Jesus knew it was time for him to withdraw for a moment, to take time to sit in peace and mourn his loved one before continuing with his ministry. He went to a solitary place. However, as we see in verse 13, the crowds followed him on foot from town to town. Imagine trying to escape, to have privacy for just a moment during such a hard time. Yet, you are followed by a mass of people who most likely aren't aware of what you're going through. Try a sip of coffee and see if that clears the pipes. Now, this crowd following Jesus might sound like a nuisance in the story, but I think we can learn so much from these persistent people. They knew there was something special about Jesus, and they didn't want to miss out on it, even if that meant literally dropping everything to follow him out of town as he left. Think about this. Jesus left the city and went to a remote place, which means the crowd also journeyed to this remote place. They left their homes, their jobs. As we know from the story, many did not come prepared with enough food. They simply followed Jesus. This would be really hard for some of us. I'm not that great of a planner. I tend to do it on the back of a napkin kind of thing. But some of you, man, you got spreadsheets on when you brush your teeth and all kinds of stuff. I would not classify myself as spontaneous. I'm not really crazy about surprises. When I wake up and have plans for the day and suddenly something happens, something changes, and I'm not going to take that drive up north that I had fallen asleep thinking about, it's a little disturbing, and I admit that. I like to know exactly what's happening today and how I can be best prepared for it. Would I, you ask yourself the same question, would you have dropped everything to follow Jesus, not knowing where or how long you and I would be gone? Would I have that kind of faith? I like to think I would. Is there anything in your life that would be hard to give up in order to follow Jesus. Maybe it's a feeling of security that you don't want to give up. Maybe you're happy where you live right now and you're afraid of where he might call you to go. So let's each examine our own lives today and figure out if there's anything holding us back from following Jesus into the unknown like the crowd did that day. It can be scary, but we are called to have this kind of faith. The best part is, where Jesus leads, he provides. Let's recall again the turmoil Jesus was going through. He could have chosen to just ignore the crowd, to hop back on the boat and find another remote place, another location, or have the disciples just shoo them away. But that's not what he did. We know that in any circumstance, he will provide. If we fail to prepare, if we don't bring any food, like the crowd that followed him that day, we know in our hearts he will provide. Pray with me. Heavenly Father, thank you for showering us with your compassion. We know that in any circumstance we can come to you and we will not be turned away or ignored. Thank you for caring about us deeply and understanding our needs. Help us to have faith like the crowd that followed you that day. No matter what we have going on, give us the courage to drop what we think is important and instead give our whole selves to you. Help us to identify what is holding us back from fully committing our lives to you today. You call us to love you with all of our heart, soul, mind, and strength in Mark 12:30. Allow us to trust you fully with all four of those and to follow you even if the destination is unknown. We know that wherever you lead us, you will provide. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Everybody said amen. Welcome home.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, guys. Yeah, it's always good to get. It's nice to go places, but it's really nice to come.
It's always nice to get back home.
Yep. All right, guys. Let me give you the numbers from around the world. We'll start here in the U.S. with the cash markets, or the indices as they're called. The Dow's up 12 points. NASDAQ is down 44 points. S&P 500 is down 12 points. And the Russell 2000, our man in the street, is down 25 points, which is almost 1.5%. In the commodity basket, crude oil up 3 cents, trading $111.80 last. Gold down $1.30, trading $18.19.90 last. Silver down 10 cents, trading $20.77 last. In the Asian markets at the close today, the Nikkei posted a loss of 244 points, just shy of 1%. The Shanghai dropped 47 points, which for the Shanghai is basically 1.5%. And the Hang Seng fell 422 points, which is almost 2%. In the European markets at the close, FTSE dropped 11 points. The DAX fell 228, which is 1.75%. And the CAC fell 54 points, which is just shy of 1%. So that gives us a red day in Asia, a red day in the UK, and it's a mixed radio Wednesday here in the US of A, simply because the Dow is positive by 12 points, but the NASDAQ, the S&P, and the Russell are all in the red. With that, we'll go to Michael and get a recap of what happened in the live training room this morning. After that, I'll be back to take a look at the Logic 247 alerts, the concierge trade alerts, and at any time during the broadcast, if you have a question, just type it into the question box and we'll be happy to answer it for you. I can see your screen. I can see your charts. So I'll hit mute on my end and I'll be back in a bit. It's all yours.
Great. All right, thank you. Thank you. Let me get the rest of my stuff going up here. Did we get to all those numbers that I thought we were going to get to earlier? I think we did. 3806 was one of them. I guess we didn't. I put these in. Yeah. 3808, 3806 were the numbers I thought. 3808 to the tech. Okay. All right. Sorry, I'm talking to myself. Let's get into all this. Hold. Here we go. All right, good afternoon, everyone. Happy Wednesday. If you have not taken a free trial with us and you want to take a free trial with us, go here to eminitrainingschool.com. On this page, all that we ask for is your first name, your email, and your phone number. You can tell us your biggest trading challenge so we can tailor one-on-one training just for you. Hit the send button to be sent to confirmation link. You must click on the confirmation link. Okay, if you don't click that link, we don't know that you took the free trial, so you got to make sure you click on that link. All right? All right. Spreadsheet. Now today I didn't get in there right at the open today, but I got in there a little bit after, and I had time to put some trades on, take some stop outs, and still make a little bit of money today. If you're gonna read the spreadsheet, did I say this already? You got CFTC risk disclosures down at the bottom. I have to say that, and sometimes I forget that I already said it. But so today is the 29th day of June, 2022. We lost 9 ticks in crude. We made 14 ticks in gold and 62 ticks on the ES, put us at plus 825 in the morning session. Today, it took 5 minutes and 2 trades to get to the goal for the day. At that point, we're up $175, and we took a total of 30 trades this morning. Okay, so on the month now, we're at $20,732. That's over 19 trading days, averaging $1,091 per contract per 2-hour trading day. I've now gone 183 business days since my last negative day, and we've gotten our goal for the day on 122 out of 122 possible business days so far this year that I've traded. So there's only been 1 or 2 business days. One business day so far this year that I haven't traded, I think. Maybe 2. Anyway, that puts us on the year at $132,831, averaging $1,088 per contract per 2-hour business day. If you were to stop trading when you got your goal for the day, and your goal was $100 per contract, then you would have only had to work so far this year 17.58 hours. Oh, and you would add 1 contract per month. Then, I mean, well, you still, if you're just getting the goal, you still have only worked 17.58 hours. But to get this hourly rate, you would have had to add 1 contract per month and do it all. And so you would have worked so far this year 17.58 hours, and you would have averaged $3,399 per hour. Okay, that's per hour, not per contract. All right. Now, there was one thing that I did during the break that I want to just go and check and see what it looks like now. Okay, let me remove this. See if CFRN installed this one. Come in here and see. Okay, I don't have the latest version on here. All right. Well, then I'm just going to go here and do the 4-tick range stuff. And this is the ES. So I guess we'll start with the ES today. All right, now the first half hour I wasn't there. Well, most of the first half hour I wasn't there. I don't know where I came in, but it'll be on the chart here, whatever it was. Here it was. All right, so my first trade was right here, and I picked up 4 ticks on the very first trade. And that was a trend line trade. And the next trade, I didn't realize the weekly trading zone was here. I probably wouldn't have taken this trade, but the next trade was right here. And I picked up 14 ticks on that. And that put us at 18 ticks, and that's where we got the goal for the day. All right, my next trade here on the ES was a bounce off the BBC, went all the way down here and came back up, and I wasn't paying attention, and so I missed all that profit, ended up with a break even on it. The next trade that we took was over here. This was a trend line trade. All right, I know I didn't draw the trend line in there for you, but it was like this, something like that. This is what the trend line would have looked like. And we took 12 ticks profit on that, put us at plus 30. The next one we did was over here. I picked up 8 ticks on that, another trend line trade. I missed this one. I took this one, and it looks like I got a break even on that one. So we went from 30 to 38, and okay, thanks, Phil. And so right in here, we ended up with a break even on that next move, another break even over here. Then here we went from 38 to 54, so it looks like we picked up 16 ticks right there. And let's see, keep going all the way over here. I stopped out on my next one, so we went from 54 down to 46. Missed a trade. Well, I took a trade, but I didn't take any profit. I missed the profit on that trade. I ended up with a break even on that one and that one. And moving along, I picked up 8 ticks here to get us back to 54. And then it looks like I went from 54 to 62. So I picked up another 8 ticks right there to get me to 62. All right. Then I was saying it's going to go down to 38.10. And I was thinking at this time it was going to go down to the next level down was going to be 38.08 and then 38.06. Okay. This was at 11.23 that I thought it was going to go there. Now we did get another trade right here, but the cycle was going up really steep and I really didn't like that. So I didn't take that. And then it turned around, it went up right here, given that wasn't actually a valid long trade here. It did bounce off the BBC, but it also landed on the MA1 going into unbroken dynamic resistance. So that wasn't a good trade to take right there. And then during the break, I'll just show you highest probability trades. Okay. Was this one? Yeah, it was. It went about 5 ticks. Highest probability long and short trades. Okay. That's just about one right there. Both of those last 2 short trades were just barely right in the slingshot. This one was good though. This was a nice highest probability short trade, clear and everything on the slingshot. All right. Moving. Okay, we didn't have any more. Now that those numbers that I said way back here at the end of the morning session, this one right here, if we extend that all the way out, make that array, we extend that all the way out, and then we copy it and do the same thing with this one. You will see that those numbers were just hit way over here. It took a long time. It hit that one to the tick, then it just went through it and hit the second one just now. I'm telling you guys, when you see those numbers, take note of them because they may not be important right then. You may not get the trade set up for it right then, but in the future, we're going to always go back to those numbers. Anyway, for the ES, I ended up with plus 62 this morning. Okay, now crude oil was my nemesis, but we'll go through crude. Anyway, crude is where I ended negative on the morning. And I got back to positive at one point. Or did I ever get to positive? Did I just get back to 0? No, I just got back to 0 at one point. I actually never got positive on crude. Okay, so in here, my very first trade was a stop out right here. And I actually slipped a little bit. I got -9 on that. Then I picked it back up right here, got back to 0. Then I had a break even, another break even, or +1. So I was at -7 at that point. And on some of these, like here, it went up, came back, it went 4 ticks into profit, 5, I think, this one too. This one right here stopped me out again. I was at -7, that brought me to -15. And crude inventories did actually come out today. There was some mixed information about whether it was going to be crude or not, so I stayed away from it at that point. And the next trade I took, I should have actually taken the bounce off the BBC right here. I think I tried to, and I didn't get filled till up here. I should have actually not taken that trade. I ended up with 5 ticks in profit on it after going all the way up here. It came all the way back down here and gave me 5 ticks in profit. Then I had this over here. So that put me at -10. Then right here I got 1 tick in profit, put me at -9, and that's where I ended it for the morning session. Now I'll just go with the highest probability trades that triggered. There was one right here during the break. One right here. That's really ugly in the slingshot, but it was one right there. And that was it for the highest probability trade. So we ended with -9 ticks in crude. Oops, I didn't bring the question box up. Okay, looks like there are no questions anyway. All right, so gold. We were back and forth with gold a little bit today. We didn't have too many trades in gold, 6 it looks like. Let's get back here. Okay, so most of the first half hour I missed. In here, I took a break-even trade. Now I should have had some profit in this because it went all the way up here and then pulled back. I was looking for it to get up to this number, but anyway, it got me a break-even. The next one also got me a break-even, and the next one we picked up 10 ticks. Okay, and then we missed this follow-up trade here, and we took this one. Now this one was white. It was a momentum long trade. We should have gotten some profit on that. I grabbed this one. It was red. And all the messages were there. All the signs were there saying don't do it. And I did it anyway, thinking it was going to get up to here, and it stopped me out. So at that point, we're at +2. Then right here, I picked up one more to get me to 3. Then 10 right here to get me to 13. Looks like one more right there to get me to 14. And no, in this one, my one tick, I think my one tick was actually right over here. It had gone up there and then come back, and I was still looking for it to get further and go up there. So my one tick in profit was actually right over here. So it had gone up there and come back down. This was 0.6 or 0.6. Yeah, 0.6. That's what I thought. Well, anyway, at that point, we were at 14, and that was where we ended it. Now, during the break, just highest probability trades, there were none. None during the break. And that was it, guys. That was my morning. So let me just look at this, Val. So at Trading IQ, is it? Okay, so back to the spreadsheet. Here we are. If you are going to read the spreadsheet, then you have to read all the CFTC risk disclosures down at the bottom. Tomorrow is the last day of the month, last business day of the month. All right, today is the 29th day of June, 2022. We lost 9 ticks in crude. We made 14 in gold, and we made 62 on the ES, put us at +825 on the morning session. Today it took 5 minutes and 2 trades to get to the goal for the day. At that point, we're up $175, and we took a total of 30 trades this morning. That puts us at $20,732. That's over 19 trading days, averaging $1,091 per contract per 2-hour trading day. Okay. Now, we have gone 183 days since our last negative day, and we have gone 122 out of 122 business days so far this year, getting our goal. That puts us at $132,831 a contract, averaging $1,088 per contract per 2-hour business day. See how the monthly ones and the annual ones are really close right here, right now. What was last month? The monthly, 1,064. Yeah, as we get further and further into the year, the norm is going to be what we end up maintaining, I think, more often than not. Anyway, if you were to quit trading when you got your goal for the day and you were to add 1 contract per month and your goal was $100 per contract, you would have only had to work 17.58 hours so far this year, and you would have averaged $3,399 per contract. I'm sorry, that's wrong. $399, $3,399 per hour, not per contract. $3,399 per hour. Okay. All right. Now, if you've not taken a free trial with us and you want to, go here to eminitrainingschool.com, Right here, all we ask for is your first name, your email, and your phone number. You can tell us the biggest trading challenge so we can tailor one-on-one training just for you. Hit the send button, you'll be sent a confirmation link. You must click on the confirmation link, okay? If you don't click that confirmation link, then we don't know that you took the free trial. So make sure you click on that confirmation link, all right? All right, guys, that is it for now. With that, we can pass it back out to fabulous Phoenix, Arizona and Studio A overlooking South Mountain, America's largest city park. Dwayne, if you are ready.
Yes, sir. I am ready.
All right.
And there we go. Yeah, you were going to say something?
I was going to say I have an opening this afternoon if anybody wants to meet with me at 2:30. Okay? 2:30 Eastern time. My regular Wednesday 2:30 appointment canceled. So you all have my phone number. You all have our email.
There you
Just
go,
let me know.
guys. There's your golden ticket, your opportunity. So if you need some help with something, reach out and grab it before
Yeah.
somebody else does. Because there's only
Michael R., that applies to you too. Okay, he just texted me back and forth a couple times about a meeting next week. All right, that's it, guys. With that, I'm really going to wrap it up and pass it to Dwayne. All right,
Your
you asked
recap
me
of
the
the recap was
5 minutes, 2 trades, $175 a contract.
good job,
Thank
as
you.
always. Okay, guys, that's what happened the first 2 hours of the Wall Street Open today from 9:30 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. Eastern. Now, we'll take a look at the Logic 247 alerts, which we click the wrong button. There we go. Now, Logic 247 is our around-the-clock 24/7 E-mini alert service, which also includes crude, gold, silver, the euro, and bonds. The alert channel opens for business for members only and those taking the 1-week free trial Sunday night at 6 p.m. Eastern, because that's when the global markets open. That's when futures start trading. So since the markets open Sunday night, we've issued a total of 52 logic alerts. Now, these are separate from the CTA alerts. The logic alerts are based on current price action. CTAs are based on historic price action. And when the two meet up, that's where you find some of your best high probability, low risk trade opportunities. So we've issued 52 alerts in the logic alert channel. 9 never triggered. Still waiting on the outcome of 4. We've had 39 actionable alerts, of which 6 or 15% would have been stopped out based on not risking more than $300 per contract, per trade, less when possible. And that's really important to grab a hold of. Less when possible. We teach that 3-step process using market structure to all of our passport holders. And you never risk more on a trade than the potential profit in the trade. When it's a logic alert, it's very easy to determine what the potential profit is, because whether it's a long or a short, you've got your entry, which is B for buy or S for sell. On the logic alert, you'll typically have multiple targets. You've got your initial target, which is T, and then when it says PR, that's potential resistance, so that's target number 2, and you might have target number 3, number 4, number 5, until you get to the final trade to target, which is the weekly zone above the entry. On a short, it's just the opposite. You've got your entry, S for sell, T for initial target, and then potential support, potential support, potential support. That's target 2, 3, 4, until you get to the final trade to target, which is the weekly trading zone below. Now, the weekly trading zones go out to our members every Monday morning at 6:15 a.m. Eastern. Once they're published, they're carved in stone for the entire week. We don't massage them, manipulate them, or change them in any way. Just as our CTAs, once they're published each evening, those are carved in stone for the entire trading session. Now, when we go to the charts here in a few minutes, we're going to see some very unusual behavior in the S&P. It reminds me of the old adage, sell in May, go away, because we had many hours of consolidation at the weekly trading zone on the S&P. We'll look at each one of the individual markets. Let me drag this down. And I'll bring up the Logic 247 alerts. I'm sorry, the concierge trade alerts. Remember, these are based on historic price action. And these do not come out around the clock. These are published shortly after the Globex open each evening. So, this is the Wednesday session. The Wednesday session began last night at 6 p.m. Eastern. But it was still Tuesday night here in the U.S., and so it was 6:30 p.m. last night that this report was published. Now, we cover the S&P, the Dow, the Russell, crude, NQ, gold, silver, the euro, and bonds. Chances are you don't trade all of those markets, and if you're just learning how to trade, you shouldn't be trying to trade all of the markets. You should pick one or two and focus in on them until you fully learn the methodology and the strategy. Now, what's important to do for the markets that you do trade is once this report is published in the CTA channel, make note of where price is on the markets you trade at this moment in time. And then go to the chart, the 30-minute chart of the markets you trade. And we'll use the ES as an example. Draw a line in the sand at 38.87. Draw a line in the sand at 38.12. From this moment in time, if price starts trending up towards 38.87, that's bullish. And so our strategy will look for opportunities to be long the market. If price starts trending down towards 38.12, that's bearish. And so our strategy will look for opportunities to be short the market. In either case, that's where you'll use Logic 247 and everything you learn in the live training room each and every day to yourself find opportunities to be long or short the market based upon what the chart in front of you is telling you. Now, we're going to walk through each one of these markets here in a few minutes when we go to the charts. But if you want to grab a screenshot so you can follow along, it won't all fit in one screen, so there's the top half, snap, snap. There's the bottom half, snap, snap. Okay, got it? All right. Before we go to the charts, as we do, we will go over a few headlines, things that are important, things that you may or may not know. One I found incredibly interesting is what corporate America is doing in response to the Roe v. Wade decision last week. Yesterday on the show, I showed you the attack on the Arizona State Capitol. I doubt there'll ever be a committee on that, unlike the January 6th political theater that we've seen over the last few weeks. But corporate America has determined that it's better for their bottom line if their female employees get an abortion as opposed to raising a child. Because if the mother decides to have the child, well, she's entitled to a leave of absence for her pregnancy after, I don't know what the time frame is, but we have laws that require that window of time be provided, which is expensive. And if that employee is covered by health care, which most major corporations do provide health insurance to their employees, then that means there's another person, added to that health care plan. And that can get very expensive. So, to protect the bottom line, corporate America has decided it's better that a woman get an abortion than to actually raise a child. Some companies have already announced that they will reimburse employees for travel costs after a leak of a draft opinion suggested that the case's ruling may overturn, and others have joined in now that the Roe v. Wade ruling has been overturned and new laws may be coming into place. Now, here's a short list of what some of the companies are offering its employees. Amazon will pay up to $4,000 in travel expenses for abortions and other non-threatening medical procedures. The benefit applies if the medical care is not available within 100 miles of an employee's home. Apple, its health insurance provider, will cover all travel and medical costs of employees who want to get an abortion. Bumble created a relief fund for people seeking an abortion in Texas. Citigroup has committed to covering employees' traveling costs if they need to leave their state to seek an abortion. Condé Nast, which publishes some of your favorite magazines like The New Yorker and Vanity Fair, and Wired, which was once a pretty good magazine in the 90s, will reimburse travel and lodging expenses for workers who must travel out of their states to get legal abortions. Dick's Sporting Goods. Lauren Hobart, President and CEO of Dick's Sporting Goods, announced that the company will provide up to $4,000 in travel expense and reimbursement. Disney, the company sent an internal note that would help pay for pregnancy-related care if they have to travel to a different state. That's a politically correct way of saying abortion now, pregnancy-related care. JP Morgan Chase will pay for travel to states that allow legal abortions. Lyft will cover legal fees for drivers on their respective platforms who are sued under restrictive abortion laws for taking passengers out of state to seek legal abortions. Microsoft will add travel expenses to its abortion and gender-affirming benefits for employees in the U.S. Salesforce will help relocate anyone concerned about getting reproductive care. Starbucks will pay travel expenses for U.S. employees to get an abortion or gender confirmation procedures. I mean, if anyone's confused about that, just go in the bathroom, close the door, and drop your pants. It's pretty obvious. If those services aren't available within 100 miles of a worker's home. The benefit will also be available to dependents of employees enrolled in its health care coverage. And if going in the bathroom and closing the door and dropping your pants doesn't confirm your gender, there's a legal document called a birth certificate which will confirm it for you. Tesla announced in their 2021 Impact Report they had a program and insurance available that includes travel and lodging support for those who may need to seek health care services that are unavailable in their home state. Yelp wants to make sure that all of its employees have equal access to health care. The company said the benefit will cover all of its 4,000 employees. In other announcements, these other two big name brands joined in the movement. Levi Strauss and Company, those 501s that you've loved since you were a kid. Levi Strauss said in a post on their website, employees are eligible for reimbursement for healthcare related travel expenses for services not available in their home state, including those related to reproductive health care and abortion. There is also a process in place through which employees who are not in our benefit plan, including part-time hourly workers, even they can seek reimbursement for travel costs incurred under the same circumstances. And Meta, the owner of Facebook and Instagram, will reimburse employees for expenses related to traveling out of state for an abortion. All of this according to NBC. In other news, Cassidy Hutchinson, an aide to former White House Chief of Staff Mark Meadows, before and during the January 6 Capitol assault, told the House January 6 committee on Tuesday, yesterday, that then President Donald Trump knew there were armed people in the crowd at his January 6 Stop the Steal rally, but called for relaxing security and urged the mob to go to the Capitol. Well, I think most of us really know the truth behind this story. What President Trump tried to do was to send in the National Guard to protect the Capitol, but was turned down by both the mayor and Nancy Pelosi. Only after the damage was already done did Nancy Pelosi go ahead and just give the nod. Okay, Trump wants to send in the troops, let him. That's after the damage was done. Now, they're saying that President Trump said, I don't effing care that they have weapons. This was from testimony given by Hutchinson. She heard Trump say, they're not here to hurt me. Hutchinson said Trump demanded to go to the Capitol and lunged for the presidential SUV steering wheel when a Secret Service agent insisted on returning to the West Wing. What's not included in this headline are the other people who were present and who testified before the January 6th committee that this did not happen. This is called selective reporting. We report what supports our agenda, and truth has no place here. Federal courts scrambled Tuesday to deal with cases involving new state abortion bans designed to go into effect after the Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade, the 1973 decision that established abortion rights nationwide. A federal court in Tennessee allowed the state's ban on abortions as early as 6 weeks into pregnancy to take effect. A judge in Texas, however, temporarily blocked an even more restrictive, decades-old law. Roughly half the states are expected to ban or tightly limit abortions in the wake of the Supreme Court's Friday decision. Courts have let bans and other restrictions take effect in Alabama, Ohio, South Carolina, and Tennessee, while temporarily blocking them in Louisiana, Texas, and Utah. Ghislaine Maxwell. We haven't heard that name in a while. Somehow she's managed to stay out of the headlines. But U.S. District Judge Allison J. Nathan on Tuesday sentenced the disgraced socialite to 20 years in federal prison for her role in the sex trafficking scheme of her longtime confidant Jeffrey Epstein, who, as you remember, did not hang himself in his jail cell in Manhattan. 8 women sent the court victim impact statements to describe how the crimes affected their lives. Maxwell, who's now 60, gotta admit she looks good for 60, didn't testify in her trial last year when she was convicted on 5 counts, including sex trafficking of a minor, but she spoke in court before her sentencing, addressing the victims. "I am sorry for the pain you've experienced," Maxwell said. "I hope my conviction brings you closure." The sentence shows it's never too late for justice, according to U.S. Attorney Damian Williams. Whether this will be appealed or not, I don't know. I would imagine so. Turkey, on Tuesday, ended its objection to Sweden and Finland joining NATO. The Western Military Alliance's Secretary General hailed the historic decision as a step forward for European security as it supports Ukraine's fight against Russia's invasion. "We now have an agreement that paves the way for Finland and Sweden to join NATO." The 2 Nordic countries decided to abandon their long-standing neutral status to bolster their security against possible aggression from nearby Russia. I mean, they realize they're sitting ducks. You know, after Ukraine, who's next? Well, they're ready for some help. And this breaks a decades upon decades long stance of neutrality. But now they realize there's a man in the Kremlin who could very well come after them, just as he did the people of the Ukraine. Turkey had opposed their NATO applications due to their support of Kurdish rebel groups that Ankara considers terrorists, but the Turkish government said it got what it wanted in the form of cooperation in its fight against rebel groups. Colorado Republican primary voters backed moderate candidates Tuesday over 3 hardline election deniers in statewide races. U.S. Senate candidate Joe O'Dea, who recognizes the legitimacy of President Biden's election, supports qualified abortion rights, beats State Representative Ron Hanks, who attended then-President Donald Trump's January 6th rally and walked to the Capitol. Voters similarly rejected election conspiracy theorist Tina Peters in the GOP Secretary of State primary. Illinois, Mississippi, New York, Oklahoma, Utah, and South Carolina also held primaries. The Democratic governors of Colorado, Illinois, and New York, respectively, all won their primaries, setting up potentially competitive races against Republicans running for those seats. And it's time to say ka-ching again. A panel of experts yesterday recommended that the FDA push for a coronavirus booster shot tweaked to target the Omicron variant now dominating new COVID-19 cases. According to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, the BA4 and BA5 Omicron subvariants currently account for more than half of new U.S. cases. The Biden administration hopes to make the new shots available later this year to help fight an expected winter coronavirus resurgence. Dr. Peter Marks, who oversees the FDA's vaccine division, said the formula will have to be identified very rapidly to get the booster ready by fall. Vaccine manufacturers Moderna and Pfizer, who both stand to benefit financially very much from this, are expected to need about 3 months to produce doses once the plan is finalized. So, another experiment. We saw how the first experiment went. Nancy Pelosi vaccinated, revaccinated, boosted, reboosted, boosted again. Got coronavirus. And this is interesting. A German court on Tuesday sentenced a 101-year-old man who once served as a Nazi concentration camp to 5 years in prison. The guy's 101 and he gets 5 years in prison. Somebody's hopeful, I guess. The man, whose name wasn't released under German privacy laws, was charged with knowingly and willfully aiding and abetting the killing of prisoners at the Sachsenhausen camp north of Berlin between January of 1942 and February of 1945. The Merupen Regional Court found the centenarian guilty of being an accessory to the murder of 3,518 people during his time guarding the camp. The man denied being active in the camp. Joseph Schuster, president of the Central Council of Jews in Germany, welcomed the verdict, but said it was bitter that the defendant has denied his activities and shows no remorse. The leader of Scotland's semi-autonomous government, Nicola Sturgeon, on Tuesday proposed another referendum on Scottish independence, despite British Prime Minister Boris Johnson's refusal to allow a fresh vote. Sturgeon said she would ask Johnson to let another vote be held in October of 2023, and also asked Britain's highest court if Scotland could hold the vote without his approval. What I am willing to do, what I will never do, is allow Scottish democracy to be a prisoner of Boris Johnson or any Prime Minister, Sturgeon said. The move comes 8 years after Scotland's last independence referendum. Johnson has vowed that there will not be a second such vote while he is in power. And get ready to ring that cash register again. Ka-ching, ka-ching. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention is expanding its push to vaccinate people against monkeypox. Now, monkeypox in and of itself is a very serious thing. But it's not. I won't even go into that. CDC recommending the shots for those with presumed exposure rather than just confirmed exposure to the viral illness. Now, that wording's tricky. Presumed exposure versus confirmed exposure. Monkeypox has been confirmed in more than 300 people in the U.S. There have been thousands of cases in other countries outside of Central and Western Africa, where the disease primarily occurs. Monkeypox is often spread through skin-to-skin contact. Anyone can get the virus, although many patients in the current outbreak have been gay or bisexual men. As the number of jurisdictions with cases increases, The need for medical countermeasures includes vaccines. Ka-ching. Continues to rise according to the CDC director. And our final headline, for all you sports fans, tennis legend Serena Williams lost her first round match at Wimbledon to Harmony Tan of France. It was Williams' first singles match on tour since she had to drop out of last year's tournament at the All England Club, also in the first round due to a hamstring injury. The marathon match against Tan, who is ranked number 115 in the world, lasted 3 hours and 11 minutes. Williams dominated the second set, but the 23-time major champion struggled to maintain that momentum in the final set. Well, I guess just like the rest of us, Serena's not getting any younger. Although she came within 2 points of winning before Tan came back to tie the set at 5-all. Maybe tomorrow I could have gave more, said Williams. But today I did the best that I could do. And that's the news that's fit to read. All right, daily chart S&P 500 E-mini futures. You hear us talk about head fakes? There you go. When this candle was big and green, it looked like we were headed right up to the next area of resistance. And that's what a head fake is, when the market looks like it's going to do one thing and then does the exact opposite. This downtrend, the high was put in March 29th. The low so far put in June 17th. Here we closed above the daily BBC. That just stands for Bull Bear Cross. When prices above the green line were bullish, when prices below the green line were bearish. We spent 7 trading sessions, all with declining highs, which is bearish in and of itself. So it really came as not much of a surprise when we closed below the BBC, which took us down to that low on June 17th. We then rallied 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sessions to close back above the BBC. And then this day was very ominous. It spoke of things to come. Big wick, little red body. The following day, yesterday, closed us below the daily BBC, below the 24% reverse fib, below the daily step line, and now the next area for potential support will be blue and climbing. The technical name is CFMA1. I refer to it for obvious reasons as red and falling, blue and climbing. One is bearish, represents resistance or the potential for lower prices, while blue and climbing represents the potential for support and or higher prices. So hold on to your seats. There's going to be a big, if we continue to drop, there should be a big battle here. Okay. We don't try to predict the future. We look at our daily chart, because institutional traders, they look at daily charts, weekly charts, and monthly charts the same way you and I look at 30-minute charts, 5-minute charts, tick charts, and range charts. So we always start with a daily chart. And you should, of whatever markets that you trade, look at your daily chart. You don't have to spend an hour dissecting it. Just get a general idea of what the institutional money is doing, because it's the institutional money that directs order flow. We, as retail traders, the best we can hope to do is ride the coattails of the institutional traders who are actually moving price. And that's exactly what our strategy and indicators are designed to do, to help you better see and understand what the institutional money is doing, so that you can ride those coattails long enough to get your goal for the day. Now, blue and climbing is currently at 37.56. And we're currently trading, it looks like 38.14 and a half. Okay, so that's, remember this is a daily chart, that's a pretty sizable potential drop. Let's go to the 30-minute chart of the S&P. Now this is what I spoke about at the beginning of the show. This is where the market opened last night. The vertical line separates yesterday, Tuesday, from today, Wednesday. We opened right at the weekly trading zone. Now, only three things happen at a weekly trading zone: consolidation, rejection, and the least likely is the slice, but we've seen it a lot more lately because of the volatility we've had in the markets. And this is what consolidation looks like. Each one of these is a 30-minute candle. 1 hour, 2 hours, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You get my picture? And just when it looks like the market's going to take off, it collapses. And then it looks like it's going to take off again and collapses. And then it looks like it's going to take off again and collapses. Now, that's what consolidation looks like. I don't have a good picture of, yeah, well, here's rejection. This was a green candle that ran up to the weekly zone. When price moves up to a weekly zone, the zones are sent to our members Monday morning at 6:15 a.m. Eastern. We've published the zones since December 14th of 2009. When price moves up to a zone, we expect it to be resistance until proven otherwise. This candle, by the time the 30-minute period was over, it went from being a green candle to a red candle with a wick below it. Price got rejected at the zone. And then as price dropped to the zone yesterday afternoon, support, 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 support. We finally broke low enough to trigger the short CTA at 38.12. No trigger on the long side. And from 38.12 we dropped down to 38.02. It's 10 points, $50 a point, $500 per contract traded. Then we had a little drop here that took us to 38.09 and a quarter, almost 3 points at $50 a point. And then we got back above the trigger, triggered again, and this time we dropped to 38.01 and a half. We'll call it 38.02. That's another 10 points at $50 a point, $500 per contract traded. Okay, so some very sedated, subdued, sideways trade as the institutional traders try to make up their mind. What the heck are they going to do? I think the frog in my throat's having babies. Oh my gosh. What a horrible thought. By the close today, we could find ourselves sitting on top of blue and climbing. And with trading, you have to embrace all possibilities. While it's not the next high probability move, we could find ourselves back above the VBC. The high probability move from here is absolutely positively down to blue and climbing. Then the question becomes, can blue and climbing hold a support? And if it doesn't, then that will take us down to this swing low as potential support, and then down to the low put in on June 17th. So we've already covered the 30-minute S&P, where we got a whole lot of nothing going on. We are triggering again. We do have red and falling. We've dropped so far to 38.09. That's 3 points, $50 a point, $150 per contract traded so far. On the Dow, a little more movement, but we had no trigger on either the long CTA or the short. Now we did have triggers on the weekly trading, on the Logic 247 alerts, but not on the CTAs. Here's where we opened. Remember, the vertical line separates today from yesterday. This line represents the candle that opened at 4:30 p.m. Eastern yesterday and closed at 5 p.m. Eastern. And then the first candle is the Wednesday open, even though it's still Tuesday night, 6 p.m. Eastern last night. So price travels sideways until it drops down to the weekly zone, to the tick. Actually, the zone is 3860/65, but we drop to the zone. We pull back to the BVC. The pullback holds more often than it doesn't. Send us back down to the zone, where we again bounced up to red and falling, which took us back down to a low of 38.74, basically the zone. Got above the BVC. The market tried to make a run, didn't happen, which brought us back to support at the weekly trading zone, and then back. Zones are an area support. We got red and falling. We're below the BVC, so looks like we're headed for these lows and then the weekly zone. If we can break through that weekly zone, then there could be a very nice trade on the downside based off the short CTA. The next weekly trading zone on the downside is way down at 3225/3230. So just like the S&P, basically pretty quiet sideways action. On the Russell, we did have some movement on the Russell. No trigger on the long side. Here's where the market opened. Ran up to the zone and found resistance. Pulled back to blue and climbing, found support. Back up to the zone, resistance. This time price gets below blue and climbing, which turns blue and climbing to red and falling. And down we go, but not quite enough to trigger. Then we pull back to the BVC. The pullback holds more often than it doesn't. There, 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 there. And then we get a drop. And that drop takes us all the way to 1732, basically 1 point. And then we get another drop here, basically 1 point. And then we move up to the zone overhead. We spiked it, but by the time the 30-minute candle closed, price had been rejected. The only thing left touching the zone was the wick. That is rejection. So then we come down, we trigger 1733, and we drop to the target. Remember, on every alert, the final trade to target on a short is the zone below, on a long it's the zone above. And so from 1733 we drop to 17, the zone is 24/25, so that's 8 points, $50 a point, $400 per contract traded. And we have continued lower, but no additional triggers. On the NQ, here's where we opened, pulled up to the BVC, came right down to the trigger, bounced up to the BVC, the pullback held, and then right here, From 625 we dropped to 617. That's $160 per contract traded. And we get back above. Now price has to get below blue and climbing before you consider taking this trigger. And from 625 we drop to 564. It's over $1,000 per contract traded. And we pull up to the BBC, the pull up pulls, down we drop, and we put in a low at 11,604. So 20 points, $20 a point, $400 per contract traded. And we've got red and falling, we're below the BBC, and so it looks like we've got another trigger on the way with potential support here, potential support here, and then the final trade to target here. So that's all the major indices, the S&P, the Dow, the Russell, the NQ. Crude oil. Here's where we opened. The trigger was 112.35. We made it up to 112.50. That's $150 per contract traded. Then we came down and the trigger was 110.85. We made it down to 78, $80 per contract traded. But the zone held. You can see how price consolidated. And remember, these zones went out Monday morning, 6:15 a.m. Eastern. See how we got support here, we sliced, we pulled back to the zone, we sliced through, found support, and we hit resistance, we overcame the resistance enough to do this, then we pull back into support and consolidate, and then we trigger from 35 to 45, that's $100 per contract traded, then we get back below the trigger, and we put in a swing high up at 113.95. So yes, I can locate it. I'll use my calculator. 113.95 minus 112.35. It's $1,600 per contract traded. That's what the market made available. We did have a little pullback here, and we went a little bit higher, up to 114.05. We've now come down again to the short trigger, and on this candle we've got a low of 67. It's almost $200 per contract traded. 85 to 65 would be $200 per contract traded. So we need 2 more ticks to make that happen. It's hard to see the wicks buried in there. There you go. Yeah, you can see it. We rolled to the U contract on silver today. However, the alerts that went out last night were for the N contract. No trigger on the long side. We consolidated. We should have rolled silver sooner. But it's still trading. Not a lot of volume, but 2065 was the short trigger, and it took us down to 2062. That's 3 pennies. 2 pennies is $100, so that's $150 per contract move. Then we trigger again, and we drop to 2055. That's $500 per contract traded. And it looks like we might trigger again, but because we've already rolled, as as of this morning. I'm going to put it back on the U contract. So, as you can see, you could have used last night's CTAs, last night's weekly trading zones, even on the U contract. That would have given you triggers on the upside and on the downside. The euro. Okay. This over. Okay. Here's where we opened. Now, look over here. From 900 to 800. On some platforms, it'll say 90 to 80. So whether your platform shows 100 ticks or 10 ticks, that's $125 per contract traded. So from 750, which was the trigger, it took us down to 605. And then we got back above the trigger and went all the way to the target at 530. And then we got back above the trigger, dropped again. And we got back above the trigger and dropped again. Back above the trigger, dropped again. This time you got blue and climbing, so you want to be very careful on that. Not all triggers are created equal. Price gets below blue and climbing, and we trigger, and we trigger. And then we get the big trigger, which takes us down not only to the target, but almost to the next weekly trading zone. And so that puts us back at the daily chart. More red body. Potential support. We'll know more depending upon how we close today. If buyers who were thwarted here, institutional buyers, if they drop below blue and climbing by today's close, which is not a prediction, it's an observation, okay, if that should happen, well, then I think it's pretty obvious where the next move takes us, down to these lows. Is there room to trade the short side here? Absolutely. Plenty of it. Now to become a member, a lifetime member, because that's the only thing we offer, the CFRN Passport. It's lifetime. No recurring fees, no upsells, no gotchas, never a new shiny object you have to buy. All of our members who are passport holders, when we rolled out our indicators on TradingView so that you could trade stocks and Forex and crypto using our strategy, our methodology, our indicators, how much additional do they have to pay? Nothing. Zero. Why? Because the passport's for life. It's the all-access pass to everything we do, everything we've ever done, and anything we might do in the future. 9 out of 10 new traders fail because they don't have a teacher. If you want to be a truck driver, an electrician, a plumber, a doctor, a dentist, an attorney, you're going to have to pay somebody to teach you how to do the job. Can you imagine trying to become a brain surgeon by watching YouTube videos? Not on my brain. If my electrician, if I called an electrician because I had electrical problems in my home, and the guy showed up, and we got to talking, and I asked her, So I see you got your own electrician company here. How'd you get started? What school did you go to? Oh, I just watched some YouTube videos. Well, I appreciate you coming out today, but I'm going to go with somebody that's been properly trained, because I don't want you getting electrocuted, you know, and the coroner having to show up on my property to haul you away. Plumber, doesn't matter. Whatever you're going to do, you need somebody to teach you. Now, I have nothing against videos. I already told you we have over 2,000 daily live broadcasts archived on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/CFRN. So I'm not against videos, and I'm not against books. I highly recommend Trading in the Zone by my friend Mark Douglas, and Read the Greed, Take the Money by Mike Reed. But as great as those books are, and as great as our videos are, and I'm sure other people have many great videos, there's no substitute for a living, breathing teacher putting on, taking off trades live in real time, every trading day, explaining every move they make, every trade they take, and the rule behind it as you trade along in your simulator and ask lots of questions until you qualify to go live. When you become a passport holder, you don't start trading real money right away. It doesn't matter how much time and treasure you've wasted on other stuff. What we offer you, we want you to learn it from the ground up. And so our 24/20 blueprint, which you will also receive when you become a passport holder, will direct you, show you, it'll help you write your business plan, your trading plan. You need to put together 10 consecutive days in a row in the simulator where you reach your goal in 10 trades or less before you start trading real money. That's for your protection. The last thing we want to see you do is blow up another account. And it's the last thing you want to see happen. People ask, how long will it take me to learn your strategy? Well, that depends on you. Are you going to show up in class every day? Are you going to listen? Are you going to trade along in the simulator? And most important, are you going to ask a lot of questions? See, in the live training room, a question is not an interruption. A question is the purpose of the training room. That's how you learn. Along with 2 hours with a live teacher every trading day in live markets, you also have access to unlimited private mentoring, one-on-one. Now, when we say unlimited, that's not like your cell phone plan, which says unlimited, but in the tiny print, until you reach, this much data, this many gigs, and then we throttle you and slow you down. When we say unlimited, we really mean unlimited. And when we say lifetime, we really mean lifetime. The methodology we teach you and the indicators we provide you work across all markets and all time frames. How's that possible? Because price flows the same across all markets and all time frames. From support to resistance, back to support, back to resistance, over and over, again and again. It's a never-ending cycle. And our indicators act as your dynamic support and resistance. And in the futures market, our weekly trading zones are your fixed support and resistance. I've been asked, will I start doing weekly trading zones in the future for stocks or for Forex or for crypto? I might. And if I do, you'll be the first to know. And if you're a passport holder, you won't pay any extra money for that, because that's how we roll. You'll also receive the around-the-clock Logic 247 alerts. You'll receive the Concierge Trade Alert static report published every trading day shortly after the Globex Open. It really is everything a trader needs, all under one roof, one low price. Tons of gurus out there who will charge you more than what we charge for the passport for an hour of their time. Now, I have no doubt that during that hour, you'll learn something, probably something good. But then 2 days later, when you have a question, if you want an answer, you're probably going to have to cut another check. And another check, and another check, and another check. We have no upsells. We have no new shiny objects to buy. Once you become a passport holder, you have access to everything we do, everything we've ever done, everything we're going to do in the future. With that, we'll go to our good word for the day. Now, we've spent 4 sessions talking about a subject most people would rather not talk about, which is why we want to talk about it. The topic is when you die. This is installment number 5. Hebrews 2:15. He set free all who have lived their lives as slaves to the fear of dying. The Bible says, because God's children are human beings, made of flesh and blood, the Son also became flesh and blood. For only as a human could he die, and only by dying could he break the power of death. He set free all who have lived their lives as slaves to the fear of dying. Adolf von Harnack had doubts about the Gospels, but still admitted Christ's grave was the birthplace of an indestructible belief that death is vanquished and there is life eternal. It's useless to cite Plato, useless to point to the Persian religion and the ideas and literature of later Judaism. All that would have perished, but the certainty of the resurrection and of a life eternal, which is bound up with the grave in Joseph's garden, has not perished. And on the conviction that Jesus lives, we still base those hopes of citizenship in the eternal city, which make our earthly life worth living, tolerable even. He delivered them who through fear of death were all their lifetime subject to bondage. The good news is you don't have to be in bondage to the fear of death. Dr. Simon Greenleaf, world-renowned authority on legal evidence, shone the searchlight of his immense knowledge on the evidence for the resurrection of Jesus Christ and revealed every thread of that evidence to the most probing critique. And when he did, he concluded that the evidence was so tremendous that in any unbiased courtroom on earth, it would be proclaimed a historical fact. So, what does this mean for us as believers? Simply this: Christ's resurrection guarantees our resurrection. And that's our good word for the day. Thanks so much for tuning in. Whoever you are, wherever you are, may God continue to richly bless you with His mercy and with His grace. And I'll see you at the bell.
Remember this, there is no greater return on investment than to see a human life changed and given hope. As always, pray hard and trade safe. Any financial information discussed on this show is simply the opinion of our host, Dwayne Reeves, his co-hosts, and guests. To learn more about trading E-mini futures or to take a 1-week free trial in our live trading room, call 1-866-928-3310. 866-928-3310. Information discussed on this radio program should not be construed as a recommendation to buy or sell any security. Always do your own due diligence and consult with a licensed securities broker or financial planner before making any investment decision.